Do tenses get you tensed up? Basically, sometimes we are not able to speak very efficiently in any language because of lack of proper knowledge of the grammar pertaining to that language. This masterclass of tenses takes care of all your English conversational needs. Watch this space for more as we are about to embark on a journey where we are going to clarify all about tenses in grammar. And trust me, if you just watch these videos, you will become a pro at English language conversational skills. In my experience as a trainer, as a coach, as a mentor, I realized that even the best of speakers make errors in grammar in their conversational skills. And that was kind of a bummer, simply because I wouldn't realize why is it that they are struggling with the basics. That's when it hit me. Lack of proper knowledge of rules of the language actually resulted in these gaps. And trust me, it's quite bothersome to hear somebody use an incorrect structure of sentence or say something incorrectly, because you may miss the core message or you may not be able to capture the essence of the message when, as a listener, you get caught up with the grammatical errors that the speaker is making. So, trust me, this masterclass of tenses is for all of you out there to get it out of the way once and for all and get complete clarity on what are the rules of English language in conversation. And tenses is probably the most important topic to cover to ensure that you don't make any grammatical or structural sentence errors. So let's not wait any longer, and without further ado, let's dive straight into the masterclass of tenses. Broadly speaking, we have four tenses, and today in this video I intend to cover the positive statements, which means whenever we speak any sentence, it's not a question, not a negative sentence, it is a positive statement or a positive sentence, and the rules around sentence structures or framing a positive sentence or a statement. So today I'm going to concentrate all my energies in bringing complete clarity on this topic. Now, to get to the bottom of this, we have to understand which are the broad four tenses and which tends to use in which situation, because conversations are based on situations. So, let's first understand which are the four tenses. First one is simple present tense. Simple present tense is a sentence, or is a tense rather, which we use in a scenario when we are talking about facts, regular statements, general statements. Okay, when we are not talking about any specific incident, or for that matter, we are not talking about something which will happen, rather, something that takes place all the time and kind of is a statement of fact. Let me give you a very good example to explain this. For instance, if I say the sun rises in the east, I'm telling you a statement of fact and I have used simple present tense. This certainly does not mean that the sun is rising at this very moment as I speak. I'm telling you something that happens normally, regularly, and almost never, does not happen. So basically, statements of fact, regular statements, always use simple present tense. Let's understand the rule around this. Since we are concentrating on positive statements today, the rule for simple present tense positive statement is subject plus verb in its first form plus object. Absolutely straightforward and simple. But there is one catch. Whenever the subject is something like he, she, or it, the verb is in its plural form. Okay? So, let's talk about some examples to understand these two variations better. So if the subject is I, you, we, or they, we use the verb in the singular form. For instance, if I say, I love pani puri. Well, I used the subject I because I'm doing the action. Love was the verb in its very first form, V1 form, followed by the object pani puri. But if I'm talking about my son Arjun's preference, the same sentence will sound like Arjun loves pani puri. So I'm using the verb here in the plural form with the S getting added, to indicate the plural of the verb in its first form. Arjun loves pani puri. The reason I made this choice is because Arjun is the subject, he. Similarly, if I would have spoken about a female, singular female who loves pani puri, same would be the sentence construction. For example, Rita loves pani puri. So there you go. When the subject is he or she, or for that matter, it, okay? If I'm talking about my pet dog, then I'll say, my pet dog loves bones, which means that that's his preferred meal. It's a fact about him. What are the two notable points here, two notable features here? First one, if the subject is I, we, you, or they, the verb is always in the first form and not in its plural form when you're stating a fact. Okay, nothing else needs to be added. For instance, we travel frequently. Again, since I'm not talking about any particular instance, any particular day, anything that happened in the past, I'm talking about a regular feature, and the word frequently indicated that regular feature. Hence, I used the first form. And because my subject was we, I chose the singular. I chose the singular first form. For example, we and then travel frequently. But if I'm talking about Raj in the same breath, I would say Raj travels frequently. So because Raj is he as a pronoun, that's why I added S. But if I'm talking about Raj and Rita both, the subject is they, third person plural. They travel frequently, or Raj and Rita travel frequently. So here again, because there were more than one subject, which is they, it doesn't matter if it was, a boy and a girl, but since there was more than one subject, I used verb in the first form. So the notable features here is I, we, they, and you. All these subjects will use the verb in its singular form, whereas the subjects he, she, and it will use the subject in the plural form, will use the verb, in the plural form whenever you are trying to state a statement of fact or a general statement. Also, the interesting feature is that simple present tense, or this format of sentence construction, subject, verb in the first form V1 plus object. This format is used whenever you cannot, you know, point down the sentence to a particular situation. You're making a general sweeping statement. So if I say my son goes to college, it's a general statement and demands the use of simple present tense. Here, if I say my son is going to college, that would not be appropriate because that is used only when it is happening at that very moment. Which brings us to the second present form of statement construction in positive format or positive statement, that is continuous present tense. Okay, so I just gave an example saying Raj is going to college, which means at this very moment he is headed out there, or I am explaining a video happening at this very moment. Okay, I'm sharing a lesson on tenses happening on at this very moment. So use of continuous tense is apt here. But if I'm talking about my profession and telling someone, maybe I meet them socially or I'm meeting them somewhere and they ask me, what is it that you do? And if I say, I teach, I coach, okay, or I work as a trainer, as a coach, that means I'm talking about a general statement or a fact. I can't in that scenario say, I'm teaching or I'm working as a coach. That is simply restricted to statements which are ongoing or in progress at the moment. And here also, as far as the helping verb is concerned, you have some variants. For example, is, am, are the three helping verbs which we can use in continuous present tense to indicate ongoing activity. For example, the children are playing in the garden, happening at this very moment, and children being a plural subject demanded that you use a plural helping verb called are. As against that, if I say Rita is playing in the garden, I'm using is as the helping verb because Rita is only one individual. Okay. As far as the subject I is concerned, I am speaking, I am sleeping, I am eating. Wherever I comes into the picture, the helping verb is am. So what are the noteworthy aspects about continuous present tense? First and foremost, use it only when the activity is in progress. Don't use it to say a fact or something which is not happening at this very moment. Okay? For example, only if your fan is circulating air at this time, you can say the fan is circulating air. Okay? Or the AC is cooling the room. Okay? Only if it is happening at this very moment. And second of all, the important feature to note in continuous present tense is the helping verbs are decided by the subject and they tell you that it is present and it is ongoing. Okay? So for instance, if the subject is I, the helping verb that you select is am. If the subject is he, she, or it, the helping verb that you select is. For example, the dog is licking itself. But if there are multiple subjects, be it we or they or you also, many of the people where you're having direct conversation, there the helping verb is are. For example, they, the dogs, they are licking themselves. Or you are completing your assignment right now. Okay? So all of this is used when the activity is very much in progress. Okay? The next tense that I would like to talk about is perfect present tense. So far we saw simple present tense followed by continuous present tense. The third form is perfect present tense. Perfect present tense is used in a situation when the event has just got completed. There is a recency factor. Basically, the word itself or the name of the tense itself indicates completion, but since it is present, there is recency factor in completion. What do I mean by this? For example, let's take an example that you had, probably tea, but just this morning. So you can say, uh, I have taken a cup of tea this morning. I have taken a cup of tea this morning. Have plus V3. Something which is recently over or recently completed can be indicated using the subject followed by have or has, and always use the third form or V3 form of the verb. For instance, I have enjoyed listening to this lecture. If you just finish listening to a lecture or a podcast, you can say I have and then follow it up with the third form enjoyed listening. Okay? Or for that matter, I have eaten biryani for lunch today. I have plus the third form. When the subject varies, if it is he, she, or it, then you will use has, but V3 again. Okay. For example, Rama has traveled to Italy this morning. Rama has traveled. If you notice, the recency factor dominates in the sentence. I always say something which indicates it has just happened. So, for recently completed events, say someone gave you some notes on the board, you're writing it down, okay, or somebody shared an important number and you've noted it down and it's just over. You will say, I have noted down the number or I have copied the notes because there is recency factor. Similarly, if this action was done by Raj would, and you're talking about Raj, you'll say Raj has noted the number or Raj has copied the notes. So the variation is only has or have, but the verb form is always the third form. And where do we use this? For recently completed events. Perfect present tense. One more present tense that is worth noting is perfect continuous present tense. Okay? Perfect continuous present tense, as the name indicates, perfect means completed, continuous means ongoing. Well, I'm sorry if I'm confusing you, but I'll soon give you the clarity. Rest be assured. So, perfect means completed, which means that that part is over to an extent, and perfect continuous tense, so ongoing as well, which means part of the activity is pending. Usually, this tense comes into the picture when there is a reference to time. For example, I have been sharing valuable communication skills lessons on my channel, English Excellence with Chhaya, for months now. Okay, I have been sharing. Okay, so have been was my helping verb followed by the ing form of the word or the verb. Okay, main verb. So I said I have been sharing because I used a reference of time for months now. Okay. If it is raining outside, you will say it is raining, which is continuous present tense. But if you add a time period reference indicating that the rainfall has been happening over an extended period of time, you will say it has been raining for hours now, or it has been raining since morning. Again, the interesting part is addition of the time period reference since morning or for hours allowed you to explain to the listener that some part has already happened, okay, which means it has been raining, which means that some part of the rain has already taken place, whereas it continues to rain even now. So it has been raining since morning. Let me give you one more example. I am waiting for 2 hours. Technically, not the correct expression. I have been waiting for 2 hours, the perfect expression technically. Simply because you have indicated that you have waited long enough by saying that some part of the wait is over, and clearly you're looking forward for the wait to get over, which is still in progress. And by using perfect continuous tense, it allowed you to indicate that the some part of the wait is over and some part is going on. Okay, the only variation in perfect continuous tense is when you have a different subject. When I say I, or for that matter you, or we, or they, then you will end up using have as the helping verb, have been, that is, followed by ing. But if it is he, she, or it, say Seema has been listening to music for hours. Okay, Seema has been listening. That's noteworthy here. Even male singular, or if it's an animal, bird, like the bird has been chirping on the windowsill, since morning, has been chirping. Okay, so any of these expressions, you have to be careful about the subject verb combination. So, what we interestingly understood about perfect continuous tense is use it when there is a reference for time period, and use it when you're trying to indicate some part is over, some part is still in progress. Usually, when you do prolonged courses, okay, this expression works brilliantly. Or if you're working at some place for a while. For example, I have been working with TCS for years now. Okay, if you have worked for some period and also continue to do so, that's the perfect expression to use. Okay, now the interesting element here was, or the interesting takeaway here was that all the tenses were present in form, but the situation demanded the usage. Simple present tense, regular activities, facts, okay, and general statements. The format is subject, verb in its first form, singular or plural verb, that is, depending upon the subject, followed by the object. Okay. The second one, continuous present tense, which is used when the activity is ongoing at the very moment. The third one, perfect present tense, when you talk about the fact that the activity has recently been completed, just been completed. Here, the noteworthy factor is you use the helping verb have or has, followed by the verb in the third form. Finally, perfect continuous present tense, when there is a reference to time period and there is part of the activity is over, part is pending. This takes care of all the present tense formats for positive statements. Yet again, I will mention the rule or the grammar structure sentences which we discussed today was about positive sentences. Okay, and you also ended up understanding the situation based application. Well, we spent quite some time to understand the rules around tenses, mainly present tense. It's time to test our understanding. I'll give you a couple of sentences. You have to tell me whether I'm using it correctly or not. And of course, I will validate your responses. Okay, so let's begin with the test part of what we just learned. Okay, let me start with the first statement. You need to identify if it is correct or incorrect. If it is wrong, then you have to attach the reason why it is wrong and correct the sentence. Okay, so let's start with the first one. The statement is, I always listen to Bollywood songs. Is the statement correct or incorrect? Great. I think you got this right. I always listen to Bollywood songs is correct. The presence of the word always indicates that I'm talking about a general statement, a regular activity, not any situation in particular. As against this, why didn't I use I'm always listening to Bollywood songs? I can't use this because I am listening, continuous present tense, can only be used when I'm talking about an activity which is going on at this point of time. So if you're playing your favorite music and you're listening to some great Bollywood song, you at this very moment, then you can say, I'm listening to my favorite Bollywood song. That makes sense. Let's try the next one. Raj play badminton very well. Does this sentence sound right grammatically? Well, you got it right. It's incorrect because it's simple present tense, and whenever in simple present tense my subject is he or she or it. In this case it is he because Raj is a singular male, I should have said the verb in its plural form. Raj plays badminton regularly. I did, however, use the correct form of the tense, simple present tense, because by saying the word regularly, I'm talking about the fact that a general statement or a fact about Raj. I'm not telling you that he's playing at this very moment. So, regularly indicates a general statement or a normal fact about Raj. Raj plays badminton regularly. Here, interesting to notice, even if I say Raj plays badminton, even in the absence of the word regularly, yet the statement and the tense is correct simply because I'm telling a fact about him. Only if someone asks me a question about Raj at this very moment and he's actually, playing out there, where is Raj or something like that, and I respond saying, Raj is playing badminton. In that scenario, it makes sense, which means activity is ongoing, so continuous present tense is fine. Raj is playing badminton for years now. Does this statement sound right to you? Well, I think you guessed it right. Something was off about this statement. What was off was I attached time period to it. For years now, which means Raj has played some bit of badminton while he continues to do so. So, whenever there is a time period attached to the statement and the activity is both perfect and continuous, which means some part is completed, some part is ongoing, perfect continuous present tense is the format to use. Raj has been playing badminton for years now. Okay, and if it is I who's doing it, I will say I have been playing badminton for years now. I chose the helping verb have been, whereas Raj chose the helping verb has been. Be mindful of these errors or these minute uh, points which will actually ensure correct sentence construction. There's a plate full of slices of apple and you and your friends are munching away. Okay, there are a couple of slices left and you want to offer it to them. You also want to indicate that you have eaten your part, so you would like them to have it. The correct statement here would be, tell me if this is correct or not, I have eaten enough slices, why don't you take the rest? Do you think this is right? Think about it and tell me. Yes, it's absolutely right because the activity just got completed. You offered them something which was on the table laid out in front of them. You ate some slices, so you expressed it by saying, I have eaten, followed by an invite for them to eat, which means the activity just got completed. And anything where there is recency factor in completion, whoever is doing the action, you say their name first, followed by have or has, depending upon the subject, and you use the third form of the verb. Recently completed events are perfect present tense. Some noteworthy facts about using tenses in conversations. Since we focused on present tense today, remember if you're talking about your routine, you have to use simple present tense. For example, I exercise once a week. Routine does not mean I necessarily do it daily. Once a week is also a routine. Once a year is also a routine. So I travel to my native place once a year. Again, simple present tense. Recently completed, perfect present tense. Go ahead and say have or has plus V3 whenever it is recently done. So try some sentences using this format, thinking about what all activities you just did recently. For example, I have explained present tense in all its different formats just some time back. I have explained. Okay, if something is ongoing, continuous present tense. Okay, I am speaking, I am explaining the concept of tenses. Okay, and for that matter, perfect continuous present tense. When something is over partially, still remains to be completed as it's ongoing. Okay, perfect continuous present tense is the way to go. I have been talking about tenses for the past half an hour. Okay, so I have been explaining or talking about. So these are the wonderful ways in which you can understand sentence structures, rules, but nothing works without practice. I'll be happy to review your sentences in the comments section. Feel free to go all out and share your inputs so that I can review them and share my valuable feedback. Having said that, till then, you need to focus on each and every lesson that I share as a part of the masterclass for tenses. Under this umbrella, I'm going to share several inputs or lessons. So watch out for our subsequent videos on tenses. It's going to be truly an engaging and enriching experience for once and for all getting complete clarity on tenses and their usage. I really look forward to sharing this with you guys. In the meanwhile, what I have already explained, please make it a point to practice. Happy learning at English Excellence with Chhaya.